Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reality Bites, Heathen Cantina's Vampire the Masquerade actual play miniseries set in the 90s. No script, did it, nailed it. Now, I'm Asmo Danikar. This is my fantastic crew. Um, they're becoming Cecil DeMille with all the games I've put them that I've run for them. So they're the cast of thousands. Um, we're gonna talk about something we screwed up last time, but we'll come back to that. Our little introduction and up top banter subject is favorite non-vampire horror movie. Because not all vampires are horror movies, and so on and so on. Um, I'm gonna let them go, but I'm gonna start with Arthur.
Hey y'all, I'm Arthur. I'm playing Jane tonight. Favorite non-vampire horror movie. So I don't know if this is outing me or anything, but I'm not much of a horror fan. I never really have been. So I know. But I'm gonna go with Cabin in the Woods, which was given. Oh, did I take yours? I'm sorry. Introduced to me by
No,
Miss Sandy
yeah,
Pants.
no, I'm trying to think, but yeah, that I know I gave you that one. I was like, I promise this one's different. Anyway, it's so
And
good.
there may actually be a vampire in there. I can't really remember. There's a lot of horror tropes in that movie. And it's difficult to talk about it without spoiling the movie. So I like that it is very self-aware and utilizes the tropes for sort of higher storytelling. It tells a new story with old pieces, and I love that. I absolutely love it. And it took me by surprise, which a lot of movies don't. So yeah, yeah. Plus, it has a nice twist ending. So what are you going to do? It managed to maintain all of the classic horror structuring, but in a new way.
You
Yeah.
also get Dirt Bike Thor.
You also get Dirt Bike Thor. Yeah, you get a wide variety of horror things that there's something for everybody. It's a smorgasbord of horror.
It's a Thorgasborg.
Smorgasbord. So that's me. How about you, Sandy? Since I stole yours, how about you, Miss Sandy Pants?
Oh, no prep time. Nice.
No, and I'm trying to think because horror movies are not my general. It's not my go-to. I there's a few that are running through my mind, but none of them. I feel like none of them are necessarily properly horror. So I'm just gonna swing wide and go really not. Dale and Tucker versus Evil.
Oh, that's
Which
a
is
good one.
also a wonderful twist
Totally
on the
counts.
cabin in the woods trope. So beautifully cast. Uh, uh, yeah, and with if you haven't seen it, don't want to spoil it. It takes a lot of those tropes and just it kind of flips them around, and it does it to great effect and does tell a different story, a hilarious story rather than maybe a larger, deeper, broader story about existence. Goes a different direction away from the horror movie trope and Cabin in the Woods. But it has Alan Tudyk, best known as Hoy Hoy
Wash.
best known as Hey Hey in
Hey,
Moana.
hey.
Also
Really?
Wash.
He did
Yes.
that without a single
He did.
That's
actual
known as
word.
Hey Hey?
No, I don't know if he's best known, but yes, he did Hey Hey. And I love him for that. And also Wash. He's fabulous.
I went to
So yeah.
Juilliard.
And he went to Juilliard to be very well paid to go.
He also voices my favorite droid in all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
He's K2SO.
Okay.
Mm.
Who doesn't love him? And with that, I'm gonna hand this off to Nick.
My favorite horror movie, probably I don't know. I'm gonna say Pan's Labyrinth. It's probably, if that counts as a horror movie, I think it does. It's pretty frightening. Deals
I'm
with
glad you said it.
mythology and war and just a visual feast. And yeah, I mean, that's probably one of my top favorites. I'm also not a huge horror fan. Most of the horror movies I saw when I was like a kid, probably too young to be watching horror movies.
Mhm.
And so they would be like the Child's Play, Puppet Master, like that whole like genre of horror movies. So my favorite would probably be one of my favorites at least would be Pan's Labyrinth.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Kelton,
Take us
what
home.
about you?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm going to make this quick. It's a tie between three. I can't pare it down anymore. One of them is The Devil's Backbone, the movie that Del Toro made right before Pan's Labyrinth, basically about a haunted, it's kind of about a haunted bomb. And it's also kind of about a haunted orphanage with there's a bomb in the center of the orphanage that fell, landed, and did not explode, and just
It's like a
sits
World War
there
II scenario?
ominously. Yes. Yeah, and it is fantastic. Also, Guillermo del Toro. Also, more of like a real movie than just a horror movie. I was a huge horror fan when I was like in high school and stuff, but like of the silly, like Evil Dead. So that brings me to
I thought about
number
Evil
two.
Dead as well.
Yeah.
The
I was trying to not
director's
say Evil
cut.
Dead.
The director's cut of Army of Darkness, where I slept too long, and wakes up like in the far, far future, and the world has ended. There's a big beard, and there's just nothing left. It's the most pointless ending ever. And then because my entire life I've always wanted somebody to take horror fucking seriously and like have some sort of conversation between the horror genre and like cinema, The Witch, because I just can't even stand how good that movie is.
Oh,
And
The Witch is on my list too, for sure. I love The Witch.
quick anecdote: The Witch is amazing, and it's black and white throwback to like art house, like German cinema. And my wife and I, we have this tiny little trailer, tiny little camper. It's a clamshell thing. In the back of it, like the clamshell opens up, and there's like a little joke of a kitchen. And we didn't want it, but our model has a TV back there. So we hooked it up to a battery. We were staying for like 2 weeks in this place, and we went to Redbox and we got The Witch, and we watched it on fucking lawn chairs in the forest at night outside by like running water by a creek. And oh my God, it was scary. Whew. So yeah, that's my three. Sorry, can't do one. I can't.
Yeah,
No, that's
fair enough.
That's awesome.
For some reason,
Special
The Witch
shout-
isn't a horror movie in my head because at the end, I'm like, "Your
'Cause
terrible
it's like a
family's
movie.
dad." Well, it's like your
Mhm.
terrible family's dead, and you get to go live deliciously. Good for you. Like,
True. It's got talking goats, naked witches. It's got all the. But
See, the D&D did lead to it. I told you. No, I'm just kidding.
it's true.
My go-to favorite movie is Jaws. And I know it's a lot of people's favorite. I saw it when I was too young to be watching horror movies. Later that same year, I saw The Exorcist, the miracle of early days of cable. But I don't think of Jaws as a horror movie because it's a lot of different kind of movies at once. It's your classic buddy picture, which emerges throughout the narrative. It's man versus nature, literally, and it's just a great adventure. Yeah, there's horror elements, and it definitely makes use of the less is more school of showing the monster. You fear it far more than you ever see it. It's actually on screen for just minutes, single digit minutes, and I don't consider it I don't consider it horror because of all the other genres it co-occupies. My favorite horror movie, the one I keep rewatching and keep realizing how much horror it is one folks don't think of when they think of horror, and that's Alien. And when I was a kid,
I almost said that.
Oh, that's what I would have gone with if I had
It's
thought
so
of it.
good. because
I watched
That's
I
what I
watched it
would've
way
perfect.
too
said.
young to watch it. Tore me apart.
Yeah. And it did so
Yeah.
with just,
It's the farthest away cabin in the farthest away woods.
it's
Yeah.
all those elements, but worsened. The real monster in that, and this is what I've realized after years and years of rewatches. The real monster in that movie is capitalism.
Corporations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's corporate greed.
Wayland
And
Yutani. Yeah,
and
100%.
willingness to sacrifice their workers for a few percentage points. I don't know what monster's worse. Is
Anything.
mentioned in
Sacrifice
Aliens.
anything. Life, resources, planets. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a masterpiece of claustrophobia, of you know, less is more cinematography. Again, moments on screen, lots of build up, but
Mhm.
it's how human it is and how real. You know, it's the kind of thing. Watching it as a kid, I loved horror movies. I grew up with them, and I mean, I'm talking the gamut from from schlock, to just cable fare where it's like, were these ever in theaters? I don't know. Night of the Creeps, Critters,
Killer
the
clowns
stuff.
from outer space.
Yes.
I don't know how many times I watched that horrifically bad film as a child,
Yeah, it's bad film,
but I loved it.
but it's
And I will share that with anyone who has not yet experienced the joy of Killer Clowns from outer space. Oh
It's-
God, there was another one. Mexican Werewolf in Texas. It was a rubber mask chupacabra flick, and there were ginormous titties smushed against the windshield of a pick 'em up truck in the first 15 minutes.
see now Joe Bob of Joe Bob's
I was gonna say,
Drive-In would
Joe
have
Bob would have
loved it right off
approved.
the bat for that. He'd have been like, they don't keep you waiting.
17 breasts. I loved the rundown, man, when he would run the numbers. Yeah.
Product of the 80s. He's still around. I
And
just
that dude is smart as hell. His writing is fantastic.
yeah, he was engaging. I didn't realize how good he was, and I didn't realize how good Alien was until I was older. And the reason it's plausible and believable is you have worked with every one of those coworkers. You have been several of them in your life, maybe more than half. And you can find somebody relatable every time you watch it. And when it gets that kind of emotional buy-in, that's where I think the real horror goes. Because even though I know their deaths are coming, I'm still missing them when they go. And I think how different the movie could have ended if the order of death was just a little bit different. And that makes me wonder about editing, which I've been saying for years. We all benefit from good editing and good lighting. So I'm going to turn my lights on so I don't look like the undead I'm going to roleplay tonight. There we go. A little oversight. All right. Now we're a little warmer. Like we've got some blood in our system rather than
Hey,
just...
I put makeup on to look less alive.
Whose blood, though? That's the real question.
That is the real question.
Oh,
The
I didn't get...
a thing that I've thought
I didn't
about
get
with
his name.
Alien quite a bit is because you just hit on it so well. You end up missing even the characters that you sort of hated, like the
Mhm.
characters you really didn't like, which we are inundated with like so much content now, and like that formula is still a thing that we see over and over again.
Yeah.
But rarely are you like, I actually miss that douchebag.
Yeah.
That movie made you care about all of them. It made you think about like the actual human, like the stakes. And it was thoughtful and there was empathy. It's there
And
were
if-
no throwaway characters. Like
Right.
Mhm.
If you only had one shared meal a day and 72 hours when you weren't hyper sleeping for months at a time, and you're on a ship that's a kilometer long, you're gonna bring up how unfair the pay scale is, because what are you gonna do? Wait? I mean, you're gonna show up, it's gonna be in your account, you're gonna be fucked when you pull into port. So characters that I was like tired of as a kid, I identify more with as a jaded, tragically aging Gen Xer.
There are
Perfect.
quite a few films that hit that for me. Not a horror, well, possibly a horror film. Christmas Vacation
Oh,
was my mom's favorite holiday flick when I was a kid, and it's fun. It's there's action and it's silly when you're a kid. There's Chevy Chase, he does pratfalls. The older I get, the more I appreciate that damn flick.
yeah. It's silly when you're a kid, but it's more relatable. You relate more with the adults when you are one. I think part of that's true of all the vacation movies for all their, you know, lowest common denominator, National Lampoon baseline humor. I don't know. There's some heart to them. They're products of their times, but
Yeah. But the times had a little bit more heart then than they do now, I think. It really
oh, I mean, are we living in heartless times?
We're living in late stage capitalism.
I've taken it to calling it stage 4 capitalism because it makes
Oh,
it sound.
I like that better. No, that I like it. I like it. Stage 4 cap. It's remission is still possible.
Uh-huh.
It's unlikely, but it's quite advanced. But it's not necessarily late stage. It's not so doomsday as
terminal.
all that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily terminal.
Yep.
But stage 4.
Well, late stage implies there could be other stages. I like to say count them.
Count them. This is stage 4. So what was that? Stage 3 capitalism at that? So here's the issue with that: is if now we're in stage 4, can you delineate the other 3 stages?
We're wandering far afield here, my friends.
I also realized,
were
yeah.
we going to do something on this call?
Oh, it's all going
We
to tie
have some
together.
purpose.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
vampire.
I'm playing vampire, not umpire. It's
All right. You just letting us off and run. Okay.
I'm trying to work it back around. We may have lost the plot, but that's okay.
I think we all glanced over. Was like, we's at the 20-minute mark.
I was gonna say, how heartless were the times of 1995? Did you have a little joy? The .com boom hadn't really kicked in, and technology wasn't going to save the day, and the internet was more novelty than necessity. How are your sires and your grandsires dealing with the changing times? Did that impact your upbringing or lack thereof? Did it color your worldview? You're very much more of the times, well, most of you, except for creepy music weirdo Beckett. But we're gonna I think everybody should be able to be encapsulated by a little 3-word phrase, but they should be much more than that. But I think those 3 are good for you.
Pretty good.
I made the joke in 95, it's like the whole year's on sale. If you order now, you'll get 2 for the price of fuck you. I was young and angry, and figuring things out, good and bad. But I also was prone to mild conspiracy theories, and not the sort folks talk about today. But then I was a sucker for the classics. But I was always wondering if the OJ trial was just to distract us from the fact that we were all going to die from the bits of Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 that did not get picked up by Jupiter. And I was worried that one was going to, the last chunk was going to come around and get slingshotted at us, and that was it. It was an extinction level event. So I had a different take on the year as well, and it wasn't a good year. I've had better. Yes. And
You weren't the only one. Busta
no.
Rhymes made a whole album about it.
Yeah, I think 1995 was a rough year for a lot of folk. I had a shit year. Didn't sound like you had a smooth year. OJ had a bumpy year, but it kind of turned out all right. Yes, for him.
At the speed he was going, those
more
bumps weren't so bad.
self-inflicted.
Right. It worked
just
out
people.
fine for him.
They're just people. Roll right over 'em.
Oh, yeah. So let's zoom in on a city at night. It is just past dusk. You've got time to kill, Teddy. And I'm going to say you woke up a little hungrier than usual. So if you could go ahead and make me count them 3 rouse checks.
Oh no.
I'm sure you'll be fine. I'd say you'll live forever, but that's the joke I make in D&D. Here, you might. So you're starving. You're absolutely starving. And it's probably going to take more than one because you don't like to leave them down a couple of pints and waddling away and anemic as hell. Like you like to take a little here and there, but for whatever reason, on this night, you've you kind of struck out a couple nights ago. You were like, oh, I'll go after work, but then it was really large crowds and people were taking flash photography, and you were like, ugh, no, I'm good. Don't need any of that. In fact, they even had flash cubes. Somebody was feeling a retro mood. Yeah, had a Polaroid. It was obnoxious. So you didn't eat, and you didn't eat, and you didn't eat, and now you better eat. Because everything that's riding around is riding around with that kind of hunger. And you don't even want to go into the club when you're this hungry. But you got to go to work. You could be there in about an hour and a half. You got time. Now you prefer to go after those that you've witnessed being violent, homophobic pricks. So when you can't find people engaging in that activity, you can go where you're sure they are. So you make your way over to Allentown, and it's say it's a Thursday night, so it's busy enough. And you walk past a bar you might actually want to go in, called the Old Pink. It doesn't have any name on it and has this red and black spiral and this hanging sort of leaning back form. You know it's some weird occult thing, but you can't remember what it was. You heard somebody mention it. But you go past that, past the parking lot. You catch the smells of coffee, clove cigarettes from the coffee shop across the street. Topical Cafe. And you go into a place, well, we're trying to change the names to protect the innocent and the guilty. So we'll call it McGillicuddy's Brick Bar. And it's a little bit more of a sports bar vibe. There's a lot of green in there, and despite not having a team in the NBA, apparently this bar's pulling for the Celtics. Pretty heavy. There's a lot of shamrock motif. You think for a moment, suddenly glad that it's April and not March, that you're not coming in here on Patrick's Day. I won't call him a saint. I have my reasons. We won't get into that now. But you're in this place. There's a lot of Tommy Hilfiger, a lot of Pierre Cardin, a lot of baseball hats being worn backwards. How are you dressed?
Teddy's wearing a plaid flannel shirt, open, probably classic, red and black. Underneath it is a tank top that kind of is stretched over his half muscular, half thick frame. Just across the front of it is the pink triangle and silence equals death. He does have a blue handkerchief in his right pocket. Light blue.
You open the door and walk inside. There is a little patio, but it looks like since the laws are catching up, most folks are being made to smoke out there. So instead of that being a good place to catch a beer in the night air and maybe look for possible prey, it's just full of full of people smoking.
Smells like cigarettes and Calvin Klein's possession.
Yeah. Anyone even wearing CK1 is probably going to stick out. But that's across the street in the back of the coffee shop. And he's shuffling his magic cards in a way that's making other gamers nervous, but maybe we'll meet him later. So you approach the bar.
Yeah, Teddy approaches the bar. He does order pint of beer. And throws
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
throw some cash on the bar.
Bartender's easily the oldest person in here, and I'm gonna say they look kind of like a low rent Bill Burr. And just wearing a black t-shirt, jeans, and he leans in, and as he goes to hand you your change, because he turns around rather fast, getting you your beer, goes, buddy, this might not be the place for you. Some people might not want you in here. You're cool with me, though. If you want to stay right there, I'll get you your next round. You're not sure what to make of that.
Yeah, Teddy nods. Teddy nods to the guy and thinks to himself that's what he's counting on.
And you hear from the other end of the bar, almost on cue, somebody say, "Hey, Mac, is that your boyfriend?" And there's some laughs coming from a whole bunch of people. Now, they're all wearing a cluster of orange and black. They appear to be of the same fandom. They're dressed in the colors of the local college, and it's about 3 or 4 of them looking over in your way. There's definitely more than 4 looking in your direction, but you didn't make any efforts to hide yourself. And Mac
Teddy takes a sip of pretends to take a sip of his beer. He doesn't feel like puking later. Pretends to take a sip of his beer and looks up at the one who said it, and does a little bit of a blown kiss.
They laugh, and there's some ooh going on. Moments later, they approach you and go, "Hey, how about a smoke?" One of them's got a box Marlboro Lights. "Come outside, have a smoke with us."
Yeah, I smirk at you said 4 of them?
Yep, exactly 4.
Okay.
All, 19 to 23. Possibly underage drinking going on, but none of them are older than 25.
It's almost a 6-pack. Yeah, and just to turn up the situation a little bit more, when he like stands up after leaning on the bar, he purposely, accidentally spills his drink on the biggest one.
The biggest one, it's funny you should say that, is the loudmouth. I say biggest. He's not the tallest. In fact, he's probably the shortest, but he's very, very broad. Probably a power lifter. Oh. He walks a little faster to the door.
Yeah, and Teddy follows them out.
I'm going to have you let's get dicey. Go ahead and make me intelligence plus awareness.
Does my specialty and instinct kick in?
Yeah, grab yourself another die for that.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it does
so
because
let's-
your feeding style is, well, they think you're stuck in here with them.
intelligence, and then. Okay, I forgot how to roll. Give me 1 sec.
That's okay.
Did that do it, or did it? Oh, I didn't add the extra die though, right?
Yeah, go ahead and just roll one. Just one. Yeah, there you go. Ooh,
Oh,
ooh, that's not good. Well, you make your way
their
out.
cheap cologne man's throwing me off.
Make your way outside. A half dozen smokers go inside, leaving just 2 people smoking at the far end of the patio, leaning on the wrought iron fence with the flower pots hung on the outside of it. One of them's already stuffed one of his empties in there. They've got some domestic beer and they're smoking, but they don't seem to be paying attention to the scene that's about to transpire out here. And they circle around you and go, "I think you need to take it out of Allentown, unless you want to cross the street. But you wandered into the wrong bar."
You're gonna make me, pal?
We were hoping you'd say that. And they immediately move on you. One of them drops back, takes his hands out of his hoodie pockets, as if he's a little startled by how fast things are developing. One of them comes in at you with their hand down low, possibly concealing a weapon, maybe just trying to set you up for an uppercut. The loudmouth moves forward fast, but he was a chronic leg day skipper. So he's not the first to reach you. The first to reach you is the tallest of them. And when I say reach you, it looks like he's going to connect first. That being said, I'm fairly confident you're going to move first. If for no other reason than you have rapid reflexes. So rather than an initiative roll, I'm going to say it's you, the 4 of them, and then you again if we need to.
Play Gangrel games, win Gangrel prizes.
So, question:
Mhm.
a bite is a separate attack, like used in combat. A bite's a separate attack than like a grapple, right? Those are 2 different.
Yeah, they are.
And I could actually attempt both in 1 turn if I split my dice pool.
Don't worry about splitting your dice pool. That's a
Okay.
it's it. You tell me what you want to do. I'll roll some dice to react to it. The number of successes you get is going to be the net. If you get 1 success, you land one of them. If you get 2, you land both. Because it's really just whoever rolls higher. It's a lot simpler than it used to be.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go this way. It's a little bit. I'm a little bit outnumbered. So, can I and can I grab 2 of them and just pound them together?
Yes, absolutely.
That's gonna be my first.
Okay. Well, let me roll some fun dice for them. They're gonna do their best. Okay. I'm rolling in the open so you can see it and so the audience can see it. But that was a big fat 0. Okay. So yeah, that actually sets the target number perfectly. I'm gonna say what you're trying to do. One of them might duck out of the way if you don't roll high enough to hit both. And because what you're trying to do affects 2 of them, I'm going to say you need 3 successes, just your standard. But yeah, don't forget to add the extra for the grappling. And this is just strength plus grappling.
Oops.
Oh, we'll see. It's not an oops. I like that you're getting successes, but your hunger dice are it shows that you're trying to maintain
It's
some
very
composure.
flavored by my hunger dice.
Yep. So you grab the power lifter easily under the arm and shoulder and just hook your hand onto his delt. Like he's definitely strong. The other one, the tallest, you go to grab him and he just drops down And he seems to be of a different physique than the rest. The rest probably football, powerlifting. This guy's carrying himself a little bit more like a basketball player. So you make contact with the top of his head as you then decide to settle for just grabbing the loudmouth, the leader, who's wearing a orange t-shirt that says Bengal Pride on it. You decide not to make a joke. But you're also realizing how exposed you are, and if you could move this fight into the parking lot, you might be able to get cover from a vehicle just to keep some eyes off of you should you have to rip somebody's arm off. So you spin about, you tied, so you didn't really connect in such a way as to them. He's going to take some bruising, but you do have him in a grapple. So you've got him grabbed and sort of like cowed down. So he's going to try and take a swing at you, but it's going to be a little more difficult because of that. You don't get to, like, you can't split your dice pool to dodge and stuff like that. You didn't need to split your dice pool and roll 2. I wanted to give you 1 success if you could have one. But let's see how good Drunky McLoudmouth does against you. All he has is strength. He's horrible at this, and he just swings and doesn't even connect with a body blow. He didn't get any taller working out. He just sort of contracted himself into a muscle bomb. However, there are others willing to try to hit you. Okay. Okay. So the big one, who's nimble, ducks down, steps back, just sort of like gauging, looking for an opening, but doesn't swing. And that's when you feel the beer bottle ping off the back of your head. Now, it doesn't shatter. It's not like the movies where every slight impact, it's a wallop, and it rings you. And you see a little flash of light in your mind, but you're still fine. Because that's just a bruise. And it's your turn again. The one who originally decided not to participate has decided to continue not participating. Sometimes it's like that when you get jumped.
I'm just going to toss the big guy into the wall of there's like what, like a divider? Is it just sidewalk, like, and then a parking lot?
Sidewalk, but over the one fence is the parking lot.
Okay, and that's like a 6 foot tall fence, 5 foot tall fence.
Oh no! It's like a patio fence, so it's like
okay.
It's like waist high.
Yeah, I'm gonna toss this guy right into the wall and move to jump over the fence.
Okay. Yeah, that still counts as your grapple. He is dense, so it's going to be a little tough. But if you get a 3, you'll land him on the fence. If you get a 4, he'll clear the fence and hit the wall. Oh my. Those hunger dice. Okay, so he goes sailing into the wall.
At this point, Teddy's like snarling like an animal, more so than, grunting like a person. Maybe even kind of like a luminescent gleam in his eye from the streetlights.
How's your overbite? Are your fangs popping?
Oh, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are with all those hunger dice popping successes.
Okay, I like that. What else you doing? Because the rules of combat for 5th edition Vampire are 3-2 done. Shouldn't take longer than 3 turns, and you get to do 2 things, and then you're done. You said jump over the fence after him too. Did mention that.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm gonna take that. I can see it'd be advantageous to be in a parking lot with cars and less light and less bystanders. So I'm taking the fight over the fence into the parking lot.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and hit me with a Strength or dexterity, your choice, plus athletics to clear the fence.
Flung that dude like a discus straight up the patty.
Another success. Okay. So you hop on over and land there. He's starting to push himself up. He's shaking it off. He definitely took some lumps there. One of them, you hear, fuck this, goes back inside. It was the tall guy who was nimble enough to realize, maybe they've got some history and he's tired of being the tall guy that gets in fights with his friend here who starts them. One of them comes running around the side to get into the parking lot, choosing not to hop the fence. And that's the one that hits you with the beer bottle. And the other one is making their way a little slower. But you have an opening to, well, you could grab him and...
I'm gonna grab him, drag him behind a truck and dig in.
All right. So he struggles, but he can't get any kind of grip on the ground. So we get this establishment shot overhead, illuminated by streetlight as you move through, and he's kicking and flailing, and you duck into the space between a van and a pickup truck and crouch down. His friend comes to where he should have landed and is looking for him. You've got your window of opportunity, and you just sink. And he punches you once as you start to feed, and he punches again, but it doesn't have the intensity of the first one. So you get a little bruised up as he works the body, and he is strong. He's getting weaker. And you're getting less hungry.
I like it when they fight.
He's delicious. He's opinionated. He's angry. He's right all the damn time. Just ask anyone. Ask any number of his exes. I'm not going to say make a willpower check, but I'm going to ask, how much of your hunger do you satisfy?
A sip, right, is like just like one hunger, isn't it? And that's like a bite and you lick the wound and done.
Mm-hmm.
That
can be enough.
What's beyond that?
It takes longer.
First of all, how drunk was this guy?
Not drunk enough that you're gonna feel it. He'd only had a few.
Feel it? Okay.
He showed up late, looking for a different kind of activity. Somebody that prefers the fighting to the drinking.
Yeah, fair enough. Then I am going to continue drinking.
Awesome. As you satisfy your hunger, he doesn't pass out, but he goes more pliant, and his center of gravity shifts as his legs just give out from underneath him, and he's holding himself up on you. He's like, should have hit you with a beer bottle. And you also notice he's feeling a little friskier than he was, because it's a little bit more of an embrace at this point. And as soon as he says, your beard is tickling, that's when you realize his friend has now found your spot and has stepped in going, what the hell? Pete? And it breaks the hold. It's one of those tender mercies that you have. Woo, thanks for resubscribing. Just looked and saw that. But it's one of those tender mercies that the luck of the dead, because you don't know that you could have stopped. You might have had to will yourself to stop because his heart was beating faster, not slower. But at 2, you know you're not alone in this space between vehicles.
I drop whatever big guy's name is. And Pete. I drop him. So that there's less ambiguity to what's happening. And I think Teddy turns on this guy too, Fangs Baird.
Okay. Well, Pete falls down and looks at his crotch and says, "When we get home," and pulls out a cigarette. And you're going after Mike?
And I want to take a yeah, I'm going to take a sip off Mike too. I know that I can never really slake my thirst unless I drink a mortal's heart's blood.
Mhm.
I think I know that enough, but I might as well like I said, it's like a 6-pack, and I'm gonna throw back 2 and then go to work.
It was
So
almost a
I
4-pack
turn
of
on-
tall
I turn-
cans. Almost.
I turn on Mike, and I'm gonna try to get a hold on him.
All right.
Since we're both behind a car, you know.
Yeah, he's a little faster. I'm going to say go ahead and make a dexterity plus brawl. And it's grappling if you're trying to grab him.
Okay.
Two. Oh, and he backs up into the light and out of your reach for just a second and sort of starts circling around. And he's like, "Did you stab him?" Because Pete's still sitting there, but Pete's also trying to mess with his cigarettes, so he hasn't put it all together. At first he assumed that he came across the two of you making out, but then he was like, "Oh, they're just fighting." No, your uncles are wrestling.
I'm gonna try one more time before things are getting kind of dicey, it seems, but I'm hungry still.
Okay. Yeah, it's he circles around and then he tries to like make a run for it, and you just run up and kick his leg out from under him, grab him, and pull him into the space between. Well, this one you got to get low because the van's on this side. Now you're on the other side of the same van, and it's a hatchback here, so you don't have the cover that the truck was giving you, and you got to make it fast. But you grab a bite off him, push him down, and then quick run across the parking lot to the far more queer friendly bar. You go inside,
Yeah.
you're immediately greeted by the smell of cheap beer and sizzling steak. And you hear somebody at the bar say something about, "Well, it's a custom with the steak. Like, you don't want to be here and get the last steak of the night. You don't want to see when the lights come on and hear what you've been eating. But if you start here with a steak sandwich and then you go somewhere else, you're going to have a great night. If you end your night with the steak sandwich at the Old Pink, it's not always a good night. Traditionally, my odds are about 1 out of 5 ends well. 4 out of 5, it's just disaster. You're real superstitious about this steak sandwich, aren't you?" "Yeah, I am." And he goes back to eating. And you realize immediately, as you look over, there's a pool game going on. Some people are laughing at the end of the bar. They got the news on with the sound down. It's covering some hockey stuff. You're like, okay. Not a sports bar, just a sports town. All right. And you're in a much friendlier place. Let's jump to well, let's involve dice. You know me. I'm going to say odd is Beckett, no pun intended, and Jane is even. Odd is Beckett. Beckett, you know Allentown is a hunting ground for several of the undead, and you've been to the Topical Cafe. It's where you negotiated the transfer of what was rightfully yours because it was promised to you by Bauhaus. Anyway, enough about that. You still paid the few grand and it was worth it. But you're possibly in the bar that Teddy just wandered into. You recognize the occult symbolism on the door. It's the death posture by Austin Osman Spare. And it's a faithful recreation at scale. Whoever did this probably had an overhead projector.
Impressive.
Yeah, it really was. And like a supernatural creature, it's tough to find photographic evidence that it ever existed. Trust me, I've looked.
Yeah.
It's been repainted. It's not the same. But
Bummer.
you've been given a task by the prince. And here's the first person a person on your list. They've just wandered in.
Mhm.
And Beckett, do you have Auspex?
No,
No?
no.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so. Double checking. I went really weird with this character. Oh,
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you've got it.
it's not on the. I'm not used to the 5e character.
Oh, it's on other. The other
Yep.
tab.
There it is.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got one. So.
That's all it takes for you to realize.
Oh, I forgot about that. It's been a minute.
To realize he's just fed. Like, just fed.
Mhm.
So
And
describe.
he is.
Go ahead.
So he's at the bar. So what is the moment that I'm walking into?
He's just come in, moved to the midpoint of the bar, paused for a minute to hear a perfectly human conversation, and goes to the bar. And there's two bartenders. One of them is about to walk over and just gives a hand gesture and goes to deal with some glassware issue. And you've got a window to go introduce yourself and describe yourself. What does Teddy see when you approach?
Teddy has seen Beckett before, so this won't be difficult. But Beckett looks something like a cross between like Andrew Eldritch from the Corrosion music video and like the girl with the dragon tattoo. It's an ambiguous vibe, and Beckett kind of strolls through there unassumingly, and I think more or less just appears next to Teddy. Teddy's been to the Oubliette. We have kind of a relationship, and I think Beckett will just say, Teddy.
Teddy's eyes widen with surprise at seeing Beckett out of the oubliette. Certainly a rare occurrence. I think he's only ever seen her there. Seen them there. And he smiles. I think he probably still I think he probably still doesn't realize that he has his fangs out when he does so. All pumped up on, power lifter blood.
Tastes like creatine and Newports. Beckett, can you go ahead and make me intelligence plus awareness, and be sure and add an extra die for your Auspex.
I know how to do that, except for the adding an extra die for the Auspex thing.
Before you drop it, right click.
intelligence.
Oh wait,
Uh,
mouse stuff.
I think you can just hit the +1 down at the bottom left, can't you?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, brilliant. And then, okay, I've clicked everything. Wait. Eh?
You got to click
What did
the.
I do wrong?
You got to click intelligence too.
Oh, I did, and then it took it away because I was fucking around. It's my fault. Okay. Okay. Intelligence, awareness. We will get used to this eventually. +1, and then. Oop. Nope. Weird. What am I doing wrong?
Hit your +1, and then hit the plus next to intelligence, and then hit the die next to awareness.
Exactly what I did. Okay, so intelligence has the plus. We got my +1, and then awareness. Worked that time. Okay, I think I've got this.
You smell the blood, but you don't see any.
But I see the things. I know.
Yeah, you're also
a little
not.
bit about what's
You know,
going on.
you also aren't starving.
Um, I think Beckett will like put one hand on Teddy's shoulder, reach over and like touch a tooth and go, watch that. Try to like push it up a little bit.
Perfect.
It's endearing, and it made me blush.
Yeah, and he Teddy, I'm not rousing for blush of
Like-
health, but if he
It's like
could blush, he
straightening this
would.
tie. Yeah.
And he kind of looks away, down, actually looks towards Beckett away from everyone else, while he gets his face handled, kind of like hides it in like straightening his mustache, his rather thick mustache. But then he says, What brings you out?
You're going to meet the prince. And I have the unfortunate task of being your chaperone. We
When and where?
This is where I have really extensive notes on everybody else's like segments from last episode, but I don't. I stopped when.
Yeah, you've got 2 weeks, and it's
Okay.
The Models and Artists Affair at the Rose Garden in Delaware Park. It will be a nighttime event,
Okay.
and it is under the it's Elysium, and there's mortals there, but it's under the banner of a fundraiser. So to hide amongst the
Thank you.
kine.
Delaware Park, 2 weeks. If you have any questions, I suppose I can try and answer them.
So
And I give him the exact
the
time,
time and all
but I'm
that.
Beckett's pretty sparse with details.
Details.
You know that's the kind of gathering that often spills into the underground after, like it's a big deal here in town for certain subcultures. Certain
Yeah, and
subcultures
Beckett
that
is
it's easy to hide
trusting-
vampires.
Beckett's half trusting that Teddy knows that and half doesn't give a shit. So that's why details are sparse.
Sounds kind of fancy. What do I wear?
Beckett kind of
I
looks
mean,
you over.
What can you get away with?
I suppose. That's fine. Are you trying to impress Luca or?
And Asmo, we decided that Teddy's actually familiar with the prince, right? But not formally introduced the prince.
Not formally introduced.
Okay. Okay.
And this will be, since there's a number of people that haven't been formally introduced and following the old customs, the prince is flexing a little bit of their authority in saying, "You will come before me, we will have court, and you will play nice around mortals, and you will be presented to me, as is the old custom." That's what's going on here. It's Luca consolidating power, perhaps. Maybe just bringing everybody into one place. Maybe there's more at play, but there's definitely the presentation is the order of the day or night.
I
Best
didn't think
behavior,
I didn't think
Eddie.
our prince, the Grand High Twink, would want to rub elbows with a stray like me, but
I knew I liked you. He's, well, some might say he's doing what he has to do, but he's not free of ego. Just show up. Best behavior. None of this. Be careful. You know, blood bags everywhere.
Which is a really great segue into Jane. Jane does not wake hungry. Jane wakes haunted. There are a number of empty blood bags. You quickly check your duffel. You've got 3 more. It's fractionated as hell. You've even got to shake them, so they're not as fresh. It's really more of a flavor and quality. You're not. You're not choosy when it comes to that, but you do notice that.
Jane doesn't feed for pleasure.
And you're thinking it's about time for you to make your way back to the lab. It's been a couple nights, and you should probably go see the doctor, check up on the code, because it was good. It's real good. So you make your way there thinking, it'll be a little bit before I can make a run. And you kind of look forward to going and making a run because you're likely to bump into Lester. In fact, now you realize that that's Lester's lair. And that's kind of Lester's stash. However, you look forward to seeing Lester again. You know, any exposure to fellow undead in the city. You're looking forward to that. What you weren't looking forward to is the 2 Crown Victorias in the visitor parking spot near the computer lab. 1 black, 1 silver, both cop. Maybe not cop. I don't know. They're late model. You can inspect them a little closer if you like.
Yeah, Jane's going to do a little gentle flyby. How about we do a little Book of Shadows, just in case anyone happens to be watching?
Okay. You know you're on camera, but it's really far away and grainy as hell, so you should be fine as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's probably a good fit if you engage in that. Looking inside by way of the passenger window, you notice a parking pass hanging from the mirror of one of the Crown Victorias. And it's a parking pass for the FBI building that was just built downtown.
Are the cars locked?
This one is. The other one might not be.
Is it standard cop arrangement with the whole dash console thing that they have as far as the shotgun
No.
rack and all that shit? Nothing.
No, there's just a gap where a faceplate stereo would be removed, but it exposes some of the guts. Like maybe it's a place for plugging something in, but it's not tricked out like that. This is federal. These aren't beat cops. These are probably special agents.
So these are probably just users. These are not specialized vehicles.
Yeah, go ahead and make me everybody's favorite role, the intelligence plus awareness. This one's going to be a little tougher, though. We're looking for a target number of 4.
So close.
Yeah, you can't really see into the back seat and the interior of it.
Tinting's too strong.
It is pretty strong.
All right, I don't want to hang around for too long. Check the other one just to see if it's open real quick.
It's handle's loose, but it's not open. It could probably be coaxed. It's not fully closed. There's a little bit of a gap, like maybe it closed on a seatbelt. This one might be able to be pried open with some application of strength.
I don't think I need to be ripping into a cop car right now.
Just want to place it on your menu should you choose to eat
No, I
that later.
appreciate it. Maybe on the way back, depending on how this goes on the interior. Yeah. What time of day is it? Early
It's about 9 o'clock.
time of night, I should say. Okay, still early. Remind me what time of year it is.
Spring.
Spring? Okay. And what does that mean in Buffalo?
It means it is rainy, and there are still the occasional chunks of black snow being perforated by accumulation of rock salt, road grime, and acid rain.
Okay. Okay.
There's a big pile of snow that was plowed and shoveled with construction equipment to be a big pile, giving up about 4 or 5 parking spaces. It has shrunk down to occupying just one, and it is completely blackened.
Is by checking under the cars, is there a rain shadow? Have they been here a while or no?
They, as you crouch down, one of their engines still ticks. They've been here less than a half hour.
Perfect. Gosh. Well, let's go interrupt whatever's happening.
All right.
Jane stomps in the building, pulls her headphones up, clicks a tape into her Walkman, and starts singing along loudly as she's bopping.
What's she singing?
Peter Gabriel.
Okay. So you make your way up, and as you turn the corner, in your eyes, you can see the light of 1,000 keyboards. No, keyboards didn't light up back then, but it's the soft glow of the cathode ray environment. And you hear voices that aren't the headphones. You turn them down, and you hear some male voices, a woman's voice you don't recognize, some soft laughter, and then you hear the doctor's voice as you open the door. And it looks like it looks like Dr. Marjorie Chambers is entertaining 3 FBI agents. And here's one of the best and brightest, almost an adjunct instructor, if you will. This is Jane.
Jane is standing there with big ass headphones, a Bad Brains t-shirt, open with a hoodie underneath, and her battle jacket pulled around it. Plaid skirt, wool leggings down into combat boots. Like, good evening, Ossifers.
Special Agent Winston. Good to meet you. This is Agent Tully, and a shorter, more powerfully built woman in a blazer pantsuit combo shakes your hand, and this is Special Agent Johnson.
Yeah.
We were just talking about the computer science program here and possibly providing what were we calling? A career on-ramp to the information superhighway. Doesn't that sound great?
Well, I do love surfing the World Wide Web.
Knew we were in the right place. We have been reaching out, and we're real glad for the data that we've gotten so far from Dr. Chambers here. Would you be interested in, I don't know, perhaps an internship? She spoke very highly of you before you got here. This is the one. Yes.
Well, that sounds like a fantastic career opportunity, Jane says, turning to look Dr. Chambers in the eye. How's she holding herself? You nervous?
Her teeth are clenched, but she's smiling. You see a tiny little drop of sweat that she absently adjusts it and hides it behind her glasses, which she puts up in her hair. A nervous gesture when she's stalling for time. You've seen her do a few times. I will have the rest of that, and it will allow you. Jane is privy to this information. It's been purely conjecture, but should anybody want to use it, they would be able to slot this into any telecommunications grid, and it would record length and likelihood on calls without actually observing any of the dialogue. So therefore it gets around needing a search warrant. Right, Special Agent Johnson. And she looks back at you and her eyes get wide like, help me sell this, so they leave.
What an incredible idea, Dr. Chambers. I never considered the practical applications of the research that we're doing. I've just been running it kind of amok, seeing what it can do out on the internet.
You already have this running native on the internet? And this is Special Agent Johnson, who obviously knows more than Special Agent Winston or Agent Tully.
Well, not precisely. We take certain subsets just to see how they'll break. And the web provides much more chaotic communications than anything we can produce here in the lab. So we like to just plug into independent pieces in and see how we can break them. I like breaking things.
That's similar.
There's Jane with a big toothy grin.
Special Agent Winston says, "Oh, yeah, we've got a program for that. We call it red cell analysis. Have you heard of this?"
I don't think I have. She says, turning to Dr. Chamber.
It's kind of a role-playing experiment in that you have a number of assets in your fictitious organization, and you apply these assets to affect a change in a given area. It's much more the CIA's things, but we're attempting to clone it for the benefit of domestic law enforcement and investigation.
That seems to be above my pay grade and security clearance.
Well, we've taken up enough of your time. Here, please give us a call. And all three of them hand you business cards.
Jane will take them. He'll take the cards.
And leaves you alone with Dr. Chambers.
Little tea party, Doc?
I couldn't stall any longer. They're not suspicious of the other thing.
Oh, really? 3 feds walk into a bar. What a coincidence. You've been taking any impractical steps? We talked about this.
You've been checking
low-level
your
stuff
bank
is what
account?
will bite you in the ass.
I didn't know the algorithm would continue propagating after business hours. I thought it would only run during banking hours. We now have 1.62 million. It's getting harder to hide. I figured I'd put on a good face, throw some heat off, shine a light elsewhere, misdirection, all that. I may need to go away for a while.
Jane is seething.
How do you feel about being the actual adjunct instructor? I know you keep late hours. Classes would start at 7. Surely you could make that.
What's in it for me?
My office? My parking spot?
I don't have a car.
I know you're against that. You don't have a television either. You're very strange. But access to the mainframe at whatever hours you choose to keep. You just need to teach classes 3 times a week from 7 to 9:30. And
All
I
right, that'll do it.
get to go see how much of this money I can hide in Cancun.
You're hanging me out to dry, aren't you?
I'm shining a light on my best and brightest.
How will I reach you?
I will let you know the hotel I'm staying at. I don't have all of it booked yet. Despite my ability to see code, I'm just garbage at getting anything done online. And I too keep late hours. I may have to go to a travel agency. She was trying to make a joke, it didn't land.
No, hers never do. She's not funny. She's just very smart.
She just thinks she's funny.
She thinks she's a lot of things, but what she is smart enough to hang this all on Jane and to weasel her way out of it in the meantime, tiptoe her way down to Mexico with, $1.5 million and maybe leave 0.1 to send Jane to federal prison. This is too high level. Jane knows how to handle petty crimes. She doesn't know how to deal with this.
Yeah, you're going to have to make hundreds of thousands of dollars disappear in an environment where wire transfers are being observed by the FBI. And your mentor gave the FBI software to do that.
She gave me access to the mainframe, though.
Mhm.
That's what's been holding Jane up this whole time, trying to figure a way out of this little noose that's been tightening.
And you start to think maybe what you need to write the elegant code that will solve this problem is some rare music.
I think that Jane it's been a few days since this situation dropped onto Jane's head. She's been turning it over. She's gotten on some of the murkier Usenet forums that she tends to hang out in with some people who understand computers in a way that a lot of people do not yet in the world. And she has outlined for them in general principles the shape of the problem that she's trying to turn to her advantage. And they've been sort of stewing on it. It's an interesting problem. And they've been stewing on it. One of them has said he thinks he's cracked it, but there's a price. And it's a record. A band out of Detroit who only pressed 500 copies of some proto-punk album. And she has to get that for him. There's a store in Buffalo. Yeah. I know the fucking shop, Jane tells him. Fucking Beckett. What a twat.
See what strong opinions about music will get you? The love and admiration of the punk scene.
I mean, he puts on great shows, but the dude is just insufferable.
I don't know that the punk scene contains a lot of love and admiration for anything
Yeah, no.
outside the punk scene.
Well, baptize yourself
true.
with punk rock holy water, also known as Peels in the can.
So Jane's plans to see if she could grind more on this code have changed. The timetable has moved up. She hates accepting help, especially when there's a fucking price.
Yeah, responsibles.
but she doesn't know what else to do. This is too big. Yeah, and she's good, but this is big, and the heat is real.
And
And now
close.
it's in the house.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty soon the FBI calls will be coming from inside the campus.
Yep. Yep.
So we have set the
She did-
stage. Oh, go ahead.
She says to Dr. Chambers, "Give me until tomorrow."
I haven't even booked a flight.
Taking the night off.
Understandable. Go grab a bite. She says without knowing that you're
Jane pauses and stares her in the eyes, waiting for any glimmer of recognition of what she has just said.
none. That's what you call a coincidence. And in
Not
Vampire, you don't
hungry.
have to worry about those as much.
But
In Mage,
thanks.
you're immediately suspicious.
Jane is out. Still too sloppy outside to ride the bike, but the buses are probably still running.
Yeah, they are eventually. And Barbara, haven't forgotten about you. Where do we find you this fine evening? And it's been weeks now since you've been home. You don't even carry the pager anymore.
Mm-mm.
The charger was at your house and it's dead. Get the kind with batteries that you put in, but you didn't get that kind. You're starting to feel kind of cut off. Where do we find you physically, not spiritually?
Not sure. I think Barbara's she's been kind of in this time getting into this routine sort of camping out in this empty dorm wing during the day, and is needed going to feed at the psych ward, and I imagine the good doctor's imparting some amount of what he considers wisdom as Jane's or as Barbara. Oh, I keep getting her characters mixed up. As Barbara is going to feed, she's kind of it's set in that no, her old life is gone. She hasn't been home. She just ghosted her whole life so far. I think it's probably going to come back to bite her at some point, but we'll deal with that later. Yeah, I think she's probably wandering the campus, maybe. Yeah, I think she's still kind of lost and not sure where to reach out. So I guess she probably does go back to finally talk to the doctor after trying to find any other way. But clearly, I mean, she doesn't have a heartbeat anymore. There's no continuing the way things were, and he seems to have some idea. So, yeah, after I fed on one of these nights on one of the less exciting patients, she seeks him out, finds him in whatever room he's in and whatever shenanigans he's up to, and she asks, she says to him, "So, you said there were others? Kindred, I think was the word." You were on mute. Good, Asmo.
I'm obfuscating. Oh, good.
You were very, very obvious.
You've come back. I'd hoped you would. Yes. It's I'm sure you'll find it a rather hokey system. It's almost monarchical. There's a prince. The prince of the city is of a bloodline known as the Toreadors. They are not without their charm. Prince Luca, the Toreadors are of two stripes. And as he leans in, you can tell that he's happy because he has waited years to gossip like he's about to. And Dr. Burton Richards lets the tea spill. The Toreadors are of two stripes. Of all the other clans, bloodlines clans, they're almost our cousins. They have gifts of the sight, and it affords them, just ask them, an artist's view of the world. They are paramours. They are the muse. They have inspired the great works of art, literature, and architecture, music. They're pretentious, they're gaudy, but they are of two stripes. They are artists and gourmands, professional appreciators. The prince falls into that camp. Now, the prince plays piano and harp, guitar, and can sing and dance and sculpt and paint, but none of them very well. It is custom that I bring you to meet the prince. They're having this gathering a few blocks from here, in fact. And I'd like to present you then. You should settle your affairs. I'm not saying arrange your own funeral, but you may want to close off some loose ends with the family.
Sure, how do I tell my Catholic parents that I'm a vampire now?
You don't. We have to keep that secret. That is the oldest rule. It's that what we do remains in the shadows. It is the oldest custom of our kind. It allows us to remain amongst our flock. As he looks out over the activity center and people are gluing macaroni to construction paper, playing with glitter, and he goes, glitter, glitter. Like us, it's forever.
Well, so I've never faked my own death before. How do I get out of this?
I can mock up some paperwork. Make it look like you've gotten an opportunity out of town, still in state. You're a part of the University of New York school system. I can make paperwork that says you've gone to Oswego or Ithaca or Albany, some other city in the state.
She'll show up. She's not gonna give up.
You could convince her. Sometimes our gifts are clouding the minds of mortals. You'll outlive her by many, many years. You won't grow up. You won't grow old. She'll become suspicious now or later. You can give her a story she can believe in, and then let time and distance make its own space between you and the living. I know the times are changing, but that's what I did in the early 60s. My father thought I was a beatnik. was a beatnik.
Yeah, that's not actually all that shocking, Dr. Richards. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess I don't have a better idea. No, tell her I'm at another school, moving on with the studies. That she'll go for that.
Good. I already drew up that paperwork. And he goes over, and behind the curtains, he has a folder. And as he hands it to you, he says, she's downstairs in the waiting room.
Of course she is. Yeah. How long has she been here?
This is her third time this week.
Okay. Take the paper and flip through it. Familiarize myself with the wonderful opportunity.
It's the actual letterhead, and its
Sure.
signature's not resembling Dr. Burton Richards. You recognize his chicken scratch. It's nowhere to be found on this. Either he's a skilled forger, which he might be, or he has some contacts throughout academia.
I'm thinking it's probably the second because he's been lurking in his little mental ward den for decades. So he's probably got some favors he could pull. Okay, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Richards.
And he
I know I didn't really mean it the last time, but thank you for helping me with this at least.
He sort of drifts off. Yes, I do ask her how the philodendrons are doing.
Wait, are you guys friends?
Third time this week, twice last week.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I will go talk to my mother.
I told her I was sure you would be back on site sometime this week. Thanks for not making me a liar.
Yeah, thanks for giving me some space. It's been a little bit of a shift, Doc. Take the paper and turn to go chat with me ma.
So you go downstairs, and your mom is watching Jeopardy, and she says, "What is Nosferatu?" as you walk in.
Think it's a vampire, Mom.
And she just rushes and it begins hugging you
Yeah.
and stopping to look at you and goes, "Don't ever scare me again," and hugs you again. How could you? How could you? Sit.
I do.
And she
Immediately.
grabs the remote and pushes it. The TV stays on. She pushes it again and again. And she realizes this is not the remote for that TV. She just sets it down. A Ford commercial comes on. She pays it no mind. The doctor has said that you are a gifted student, but I was worried that you were... Are you with child? Your brother says that he's going to marry you and take you away to Canada.
Oh, Mom, no, Mama, don't listen to him. It's complicated. I didn't want to tell you until we had everything figured out. I'm sorry that I haven't called back. And pull the binder out, the folder, and show my mom. See, this is what Dr. Richards and I have been working on. I wasn't really able to talk about it, but it turns out there's an opportunity in Ithaca that is going to put me on the fast track for a lot of these new fields, a lot of this genetic work and study that I've been focused on. So it's I mean, it's an opportunity I can't even believe. But it looks like it's here in black and white.
No. You do not get to go to
Mama.
Ithaca without coming to Sunday supper.
Of course, Mama. Of course.
8:00.
Yes, Mama.
8 Petrushkis.
Oh, love that. Thank you, Mama. I'm so sorry.
Good. I will forgive you in time, but do not miss supper.
No, Mama. I will be there.
I will tell your father not to buy a pistol.
Thank you, Mama.
He was convinced by your brother that you were fornicating. I said she is a good girl. She is just very busy with studies. I'm glad
No, Mama.
I was
No
right.
fornicating. No boys. No fornicating. No, Mama.
The doctor is very proud of you, says you are a gifted pupil, that you have uses a lot of big words. I struggle. You have transcended expectations. And something about it is in your blood. I did not understand everything he said. But I am glad you are okay. And she pinches your cheeks.
Way too hard.
Do not scare me again. Light slap on the cheek. Not mean. And
Yes, Mama.
Fucking shitbag brother of yours needs a slap in the face.
the smell of her cold cream. The smell of fennel. You missed her. And that went better
Yeah.
than you could have hoped.
Yes.
Jane, you're thinking of a friend of yours you've been a little out of touch with from academia. They were more the bio side, but you shared a class a while back, and you're thinking maybe you should reach out. See how Barbara's doing. Remember the last time that you were making some corny joke about Night of the Living Dead? You're sure that joke hasn't aged well. But there's no reason you have to go to the oubliette alone.
He did let me borrow that book too. Found it in my bag. I'm rooting around for
Okay.
a pack of smokes. Pull up Mona Lisa Overdrive. This is Barbara's book. Look, is Barbara? In weeks. Been so distracted by, threats to my freedom and livelihood. Starts getting herself worked up again. Has to like, okay. We'll figure this out. Might have to kill a bitch, but we'll figure this out.
Barbara, your mom comes running back in and goes, if you're going to be keeping late hours here without this is your excuse. This is why you couldn't call me. I know now. And she hands you the charger for your pager.
Yeah, Jane will stop by there's a payphone right next to the bus stop and the bus ain't here.
Yep.
Waiting. So she'll give Barbara a page. It's been a while. Jane doesn't really have friends. It's hard when you're a dirtbag and a vampire.
It's covered in stickers for Liberty Cab, but the keypad is still visible.
Mm-hmm. Could run it down. Just a quarter, I'm assuming. Still a quarter.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Even in the world of darkness.
I think it was like 98 or 99 when it went to 35, because I do remember that, and it was in the 90s. But I think it was after 95.
So as soon as you plug your pager in, a page comes in. And you can punch in the code. There's like up to 20 characters you can punch in. If you want to send a short message like call me back at number
Hmm? Jane.
or
Yeah.
got your book.
Yep. Yep. Things might be going sideways. And Jane's trying to take care of the people who have been kind to her. And things are starting to feel like the building's on fire and she's trapped inside. She's going to try to put everything in order before whatever is going to go down actually goes down. She doesn't have much. She doesn't know many people. She doesn't know many people in her life, but she wants to do right by him. Yeah.
Do you make contact? Do you call the number? Barbara, do you call the number? Jane's
Yeah.
paging you.
Yeah, because the biggest thing I've been panicking about is my mom. That's who I've been dodging. And if that's been resolved, I'm probably
Well, that can
not
has
quite
been
so.
successfully kicked down the road, and you're realizing, and yep, as you start to call back the number that Jane gave you, it's dawning on you that the doctor might be a lousy guide to being undead, but he probably smoothed things over with your mom better than anyone else could have, given
Right,
the
as a senior
circumstances.
doctor figure and talk about what a gifted student and
Right.
ask about her hydrangeas or whatever it was.
Philodendrons.
Yep.
Philodendrons. No, he seems like a valuable asset, but a lousy guide.
So you call back and you're realizing the last time you talked to Jane was like months ago, and you were among the living. And it was in a night class at the North Campus, and Jane mostly, like, y'all got to the class late, so you're sitting in the back, and Jane was like kind of mentally checked out but needed the credit for something. You don't remember the details, but the two of you hit it off, but you were mortal then. And as the phone rings, you realize that might be awkward if they want to meet in the daytime, because you were mortal. You didn't pick up that Jane was undead.
No, especially if it was a night class. She
Hmm?
wouldn't have thought anything of it. Yeah, so I call back the number on the that came through on the pager. Hello? Who's this?
Barbed wire. What are you doing, nerd?
Jane. I'm good. How are you?
Oh, world's burning to the ground. Doing fine. Hey, I got this book for you that I want to get back before I might have to leave town or go to prison or something. So I was wondering if you had any plans tonight.
Oh, well, no, I totally forgot I let you borrow that. Yeah, sure. I can meet you somewhere on campus. I don't know.
Nah, we're going to a record store. I got to do a thing. It's called the Oubliette.
The Oubliette. Don't know if I've been there. Where?
Can't imagine you would have. And
It's on
Jane will give her
Delaware,
the
but not the
address.
fixed up part of Delaware. It's in an old building called the Providence Building.
The Providence. Okay.
Say 40 minutes. I'm still waiting on a bus.
Well, let me figure out the nearest bus and I'll see you there.
Sounds perfect. Look forward to it.
All right. Yeah. Glad you're doing okay. Sorry you might be going to prison.
Or, might just die. We'll see.
Okay. I'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah, see you then, kid.
Bye.
And as you hang up the payphone, you hear from 60 feet away at the other end of the rec hall, "We don't need to take the bus." Dr. Burton Richards approaches. "Here. They belong to the facility, but they won't be missed for, well, no more than a day."
Oh.
And hands you some keys. Some keys to an Isuzu. Little pickup truck. Little pick 'em up truck.
Oh, I do remember those little things.
Little 4-banger pick 'em up truck.
They were the cutest.
Little
And
putt
it's
putt.
it's
They
it's
were.
for use around the campus and facility, and it spends a lot of time in the garage, so it's not all corroded through with rock salt.
Does it have plates that are current?
It has plates that identify it as Buffalo Psych Center. But it doesn't say that. It just says utility.
Okay, sure.
But if anybody
I'll take it.
runs the plates, it's going to come up as belonging.
I stole it from the psych center.
Yes.
Roger that. Oh, Dr. Richards, this will make it a whole lot easier. Thanks. I'm gonna meet this this Jane kid.
The
To get my
Bruja.
book back, I guess. I'm sorry, what? No,
What?
she seemed like a sweet kid. I mean, a little rough around the edges, but no need to throw that kind of language around.
Not Brujeria, not Bruja. Another one of our bloodlines, our kind.
No, she's a kid that goes to school here. I mean, she's like kind of skinny and small. Like she seems a little. She looks young, but
Presses the
Tail
keys into your hand and says, "Go
only comes out at night.
meet people." It's good. It's good. Our kind eventually collide, usually because we outlive the mortals around us. But this is nice.
okay. Well, thanks, Doc.
And you get in the Isuzu, and you start driving, thinking, maybe I can intercept.
Do I know how to drive? Do I know how to drive?
Do you know how to drive a stick? You know what? You've got eternity to figure it out. And this clutch, it'll survive you. It's a little soft in third, but what are you going to do? You
Grind. Ride it and grind is what I'm gonna do with that stick shift.
you drive up Delaware for a while, eventually seeing the bus that Jane is on and turning the truck around and following the bus until Jane gets off the bus and then rolling up half
He's
a
like,
block
"Who the
later.
fuck is destroying that transmission?"
And you hear as an Isuzu tries to throw its transmission out its ass. And I don't know, maybe not. Maybe we're overselling that. Barbara, go ahead and make me. There's rules for this, right? There's dice
Yeah,
for everything.
let's find out with the dice.
Yeah.
I don't think she probably would, but the dice might say
I'm gonna
otherwise.
say
He's a book nerd.
I'm gonna say this stick in this
Jane
situation,
knows how to
because
drive.
we're not in any danger, will be dexterity plus drive. So at least you've got your dex to help you there. Because I just noticed you don't have a single dot in drive, which is hilarious. Which you can get away with in Buffalo. Shit, I didn't learn how to drive till I moved out of that. But would you look at that? Would you just look at that? You did your best, and that was 3. It was supposed to be 2. The difficulty was set too high, so it's actually a success.
Okay.
And it just grinds once and stops. You're starting to get the hang of this. And Jane, it looks like Barbara might have stolen a truck.
You're not really a truck girl, Barb. Did you get this thing?
Oh, so about that.
This is a
Doctor.
vehicle.
Yeah, no, it's a school. It's a school truck.
Jane goes
From
in
the-
and gets in, passenger side. Just gets right on in.
And you make your way.
I didn't steal it. I have the keys.
I mean, I ain't even judging.
You make your way a few blocks up to the oubliette, and inside we have Beckett and Teddy, and running up to the door just as Jane and Barbara are about to enter is Morgan. Remember Morgan? He was the other, not Billy Bidwell, but he was your other employee, Beckett. And they are running up with some
That's
excited
right,
news.
Morgan Redshirt.
They burst in and say, police detective was here yesterday asking about Van Tassel. Missing persons report. Somebody claimed he's missing. I didn't know anything, so I didn't have anything to tell him, but he said he'd be back. You would want to know. I can I can work tonight. There's hours. Do you need me?
Yeah,
Good.
get started.
And they begin sorting, and the party is finally in the same building.
Jane's like, Teddy, what are you doing here, you animal?
You know these people?
Teddy probably found like a squeaky door or something to start fixing. Honestly.
And Beckett's like, I really appreciate how you do that.
And Morgan comes up and puts
Jane, Barbara,
himself. Morgan puts himself between Beckett and the rest of the group and says, I know how this goes, and just leans in, pressing their neck in your direction, Beckett. I've been listening to Throbbing Gristle all day like you told me to. They're not being subtle.
nice try.
I know. Prefer Bobby.
One of these days, Morgan. Jane,
Jane,
Barbara.
Jane looks at Teddy and looks at Beckett, who already knows Barbara. Like, Beckett, this dude just offered to feed himself. Ooh, Beckett. I should have fucking known, says Jane. That is the first thing that's made sense in 10 years, and I didn't catch it. Teddy, did you know about this?
So I like to think that occasionally we'll have a little genre shift as we hear the happy voices of the party being joined, and we'll get the establishment shot outside the record store, and it ends like an episode of Cheers. Thank you, everybody. Come and check us out on Saturday. We're playing Pathfinder 2nd Edition, Outlaws of Alkenstar. It's a party of dwarves and one unlucky half-elf. And it's a lot of fun, and we can't wait to see you there. We got this again next week. Thank you, everybody. I want to give some thanks. I want to give thanks to Smiteworks for the awesome software, to the 90s for giving me some kind of inspiration and formative life experiences that let me spin this bullshit from memory with very little preparation. And I mean very little preparation. Thank you to my awesome cast. And I already dropped a link to join the Discord, so check us out on there if that's your thing. We look forward to seeing you again next time. And thank you, everybody, for watching.
As the camera's pulling out, Jane says to Barbara, Barbara, I don't know how to tell you this, but fucking vampires are real. And all of these guys are vampires. You should really get out of here.
Morgan goes, I am not a vampire. I'm just an undead enthusiast. Goes back to sorting records.
And
We had an oversight last week when we didn't talk about the Cool Shit of the Night award. We awarded it off camera. I'm going to ask in the chat or on Discord, who do you think gets the Cool Shit of the Night award? Let us know, and that person starts off next session with an extra point of experience. Thanks again, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Good night.
good night, everybody.
Bye, y'all.